What if I told you that King Solomon possessed a wealth formula so powerful it generated $2.2 trillion in today's currency? But churches deliberately hide his methods because they threaten religious control over believers. Solomon wasn't just wise. He was history's greatest entrepreneur who built the most profitable business empire ever documented. Napoleon Hill studied 500 millionaires and discovered they unconsciously applied the exact same principles that made Solomon the wealthiest man who ever lived. The shocking truth is that Solomon's riches weren't purely divine gifts, but the result of systematic wealth-building strategies that any believer can implement today. Churches suppress Solomon's business genius because wealthy congregants become independent thinkers who don't need institutional guidance or financial support. They prefer teaching about Solomon's wisdom while ignoring his wealth creation methods that generated annual revenues exceeding most modern nations. Today I'm exposing Solomon's complete wealth formula, the same systematic approach that has created every great fortune throughout history, proving that spiritual depth and financial mastery aren't opposites, but essential partners. If you've been taught that Solomon's wealth was purely miraculous and not applicable today, comment Solomon's formula and tell me what surprised you most about his business approach. Solomon's wealth formula began with what Napoleon Hill called definiteness of purpose, crystal clear vision for his kingdom's destiny. 1 Kings 3:5-13 reveals that when God offered Solomon anything he wanted, he asked for wisdom to govern effectively rather than personal riches. This demonstrates sophisticated understanding that wisdom generates wealth sustainably, while money without wisdom disappears quickly. Hill found the same pattern among successful people. They prioritized skill development over immediate profit because abilities create unlimited earning potential. Solomon's request for a discerning heart to govern your people and to distinguish between right and wrong shows he understood that wealth flows to those who solve problems for others. God was so impressed with this wisdom-first approach that he promised Solomon both wisdom and riches beyond measure. This reveals a spiritual law that Hill documented repeatedly. When you focus on providing exceptional value, financial rewards follow automatically. Churches avoid teaching this because it challenges their narrative that spiritual people shouldn't pursue wealth strategically. Solomon proves that seeking wisdom to serve others better inevitably creates extraordinary prosperity. What skill or wisdom are you currently developing that could increase your value to others? Comment below how you're investing in your abilities rather than just chasing money directly. Solomon's business empire was built on what Hill called specialized knowledge applied through strategic partnerships. 1 Kings 5:1-12 describes his alliance with King Hiram of Tyre, where Solomon traded food, wheat and oil for skilled craftsmen and premium materials, cedar and pine. This wasn't simple bartering, but sophisticated international trade that leveraged comparative advantages. Solomon recognized that Israel produced agricultural surpluses, while Tyre had superior maritime skills and luxury resources. By structuring win-win agreements, he created ongoing business relationships that generated wealth for both kingdoms. Hill found that the most successful people excel at identifying mutually beneficial partnerships rather than trying to dominate every transaction. Solomon's 20-year contract with Hiram created predictable revenue streams and cost structures that enabled long-term planning and reinvestment. He also hired 150,000 workers organized into efficient rotating shifts, demonstrating advanced project management and human resources systems. Churches focus on his temple building while ignoring the business infrastructure that made it possible. Sophisticated supply chains, international finance, and organizational management that modern corporations struggle to achieve. What strategic partnership could you form that would benefit both parties while advancing your goals? Share your collaboration idea in the comments below. 1 Kings 9:26-28 reveals Solomon's most profitable venture, his shipping business that generated enormous wealth through international trade. He built a fleet at Etzion-Geber and partnered with Hiram's experienced sailors to import gold from Ophir, generating 420 talents of gold in one expedition alone, worth $400 million today. This demonstrates what Hill called leverage, using other people's expertise to multiply your own capabilities. Solomon didn't try to become a sailor himself, but created partnerships that combined his resources with others' specialized skills. His ships also traded in algum wood, precious stones, gold, silver, ivory, apes and peacocks, diverse luxury goods that commanded premium prices in international markets. This portfolio approach reduced risk while maximizing profit potential. Napoleon Hill found that sustainable wealth requires multiple income streams rather than dependence on single sources. Solomon's trading empire generated passive income through systematic buying and selling, while he focused on governing and building infrastructure. Churches avoid teaching this because it reveals that biblical heroes were sophisticated business operators, not just spiritual leaders dependent on divine provision alone. What's one additional income stream you could develop using skills or resources you already possess? Comment your business idea below and let's brainstorm together. Solomon mastered what Hill called the mastermind principle by surrounding himself with experts who amplified his capabilities exponentially. 1 Kings 4:1-34 lists his cabinet of specialists: Azariah for administration, Elihoreph and Ahijah for records, Jehoshaphat for historical archives, Benaiah for military, Zadok and Abiathar for religious affairs, Azariah for district governors, Zabud for chief advisor, and Ahishar for palace management. This wasn't random delegation, but strategic team building, where each expert handled their specialty while contributing to unified vision. Hill discovered that the wealthiest people never try to be experts at everything, but excel at selecting and coordinating other experts. Solomon's administrative system included 12 district governors who managed regional taxation and resource allocation, creating efficient revenue collection and distribution networks. His monthly provisions included 30 cores of the finest flour and 60 cores of meal, 10 head of stall-fed cattle, 20 of pasture-fed cattle, and 100 sheep and goats, plus deer, gazelles, roebucks, and choice fowl, demonstrating prosperity that supported massive organizations. Churches teach about his wisdom while ignoring his organizational genius that made sustainable wealth possible. Who is the smartest person you know in an area where you want to improve? Comment how you could learn from or collaborate with their expertise to accelerate your progress. 2 Chronicles 1:14-17 reveals Solomon's most ingenious business strategy, becoming the middleman in international horse and chariot trade. He imported horses from Egypt and chariots from other regions, then resold them throughout the ancient world at substantial markups. A chariot imported for 600 shekels was resold for higher prices to kings of the Hittites and Arameans. This demonstrates what Hill called arbitrage, profiting from price differences between markets through superior information and positioning. Solomon controlled strategic trade routes and had diplomatic relationships that gave him access to both suppliers and customers that others couldn't reach. His 1,400 chariots and 12,000 horses weren't just military assets, but inventory for his trading business. This required enormous capital investment, sophisticated logistics, and risk management, proving that biblical wealth came through business acumen, not just divine blessing. Napoleon Hill found that sustainable fortunes are built by adding value between producers and consumers, rather than just creating products. Solomon positioned himself as essential intermediary in lucrative markets, generating ongoing profits from facilitating trade between other parties. Churches avoid this example because it shows biblical heroes operating successful businesses for profit. What market inefficiency have you noticed where you could add value by connecting buyers and sellers? Share your arbitrage opportunity in the comments. 1 Kings 10:14-25 documents Solomon's annual revenue of 666 talents of gold, approximately $600 million yearly in today's currency, plus additional income from trading, tribute, and business ventures. This wasn't random wealth accumulation, but systematic revenue optimization through diversified streams. His income sources included international trade profits, taxation from 12 districts, tribute from vassal kingdoms, gifts from visiting dignitaries, and returns on business investments. Hill called this multiple streams of income, ensuring that no single source could threaten overall financial stability. Solomon's throne, made of ivory overlaid with gold, his 200 large shields of hammered gold, his drinking cups of gold, and his extensive use of silver, considered worthless because gold was so abundant, demonstrate wealth beyond modern comprehension. Yet churches present this as purely divine blessing, rather than acknowledging the business systems that generated sustainable prosperity. Napoleon Hill found that the wealthiest people systematically build assets that produce ongoing income rather than just earning wages or fees. Solomon's wealth-generating systems continued producing long after initial investments, creating what modern entrepreneurs call passive income streams that work without constant personal involvement. How many different income sources do you currently have, and what's one additional stream you could develop this year? List your income diversification strategy in the comments. 1 Kings 10:1-13 reveals Solomon's most powerful wealth attraction principle through the Queen of Sheba's visit. She came to test Solomon with hard questions, but left saying, "The report I heard about your achievements and wisdom is true. Indeed, not even half was told me." This demonstrates what Hill called reputation building, creating such exceptional value that others seek you out and promote your capabilities. The Queen brought 120 talents of gold, large quantities of spices and precious stones as gifts, then engaged in mutual trade that benefited both kingdoms. This wasn't charity, but strategic relationship building that created ongoing business opportunities. Solomon's reputation for wisdom and prosperity attracted wealthy visitors who became trading partners, diplomatic allies, and sources of rare resources. Hill found that sustainable wealth comes from building such extraordinary reputation that opportunities flow to you rather than constantly chasing them. Solomon's wisdom wasn't just intellectual knowledge, but practical problem-solving ability that others valued highly enough to pay premium prices for access. Churches focus on the wisdom while ignoring how it translated into wealth-generating reputation that attracted resources from around the known world. What reputation are you building in your field that could attract opportunities to you? Comment the specific expertise you want to be known for and how you're developing it. Proverbs 31:10-31 contains Solomon's ultimate wealth wisdom through his description of the wife of noble character who demonstrates every principle Hill identified among successful entrepreneurs. She selects wool and flax and works with eager hands, product development, brings her food from afar, supply chain management, considers a field and buys it. Out of her earnings, she plants a vineyard, real estate investment and business expansion, sees that her trading is profitable, financial analysis, and makes linen garments and sells them, manufacturing and sales. This isn't just domestic virtue, but comprehensive business education disguised as marriage advice. Solomon understood that sustainable wealth requires both partners operating as strategic business team rather than single income dependency. The passage concludes, "Give her the reward she has earned and let her works bring her praise," meaning financial success should be celebrated, not hidden. Napoleon Hill found that the wealthiest families typically involved both spouses in wealth-building activities, rather than separating business from personal life. Churches teach this as women's roles, while missing Solomon's deeper message about integrated wealth creation through complementary skills and shared vision. If you're married or in partnership, how could you better combine your skills for mutual wealth building? Single people. What complementary skills do you need to develop or find in partnerships? Solomon's complete wealth formula integrates all biblical prosperity principles. Wisdom-first approach, prioritizing value creation over immediate profit. Strategic partnerships, leveraging others' expertise. International trade, multiple revenue streams. Organizational excellence, expert teams. Market arbitrage, profitable positioning. Income diversification, financial stability. Reputation building, attraction marketing, and integrated family business, comprehensive wealth systems. This wasn't accidental prosperity, but systematic wealth creation using principles that Napoleon Hill later documented among 500 millionaires. Churches suppress Solomon's business methods because wealthy believers don't need institutional dependency or control. They prefer teaching about his wisdom while ignoring how it generated $2.2 trillion in measurable wealth. You now possess the same formula that created history's greatest fortune and continues creating modern business empires. The only question is whether you'll apply it with Solomon's systematic consistency and long-term thinking. Remember, Solomon's wealth enabled him to build the temple, support massive organizations, and create lasting impact impossible without financial resources. Prosperity properly managed serves divine purposes better than poverty ever could. If you're ready to implement Solomon's complete wealth formula systematically, comment Solomon's system below and I'll send you the step-by-step implementation guide that breaks down each principle into actionable daily practices for modern wealth building.